think we've just talked about it since day one, building a culture behind this run game, and that's what we want to be first. And it's taken some time by all of us to really get it going, but when it has gone going, it showed to be great and what we rely on, and everybody loves doing it. We have great chemistry, and the guys in that room work hard. Obviously, with injuries and everything, different guys have had to bounce around and play different positions. Some guys had to, start, and everyone's done a great job.
Guys,
Chuba Hubbard has a little gray in his hair. Did you notice that as well? Like,
he's
he's a young
been
guy.
with the Panthers
Yeah,
for
but
a
I'm
while.
not I'm not a 20-something running back in the NFL. I'm a middle-aged man.
Oh, that's all right. We'll put you on the Panthers in 4 years and see how it goes.
Yeah, fair.
So, listen to this one, Matthew. There are two running backs this year in the NFL with multiple games at 30-plus touches. Saquon Barkley, in the conversation for MVP, and Chuba Hubbard.
Not in the conversation for MVP yet.
Might be fantasy MVP. Look, he was somebody who went late in drafts because people were expecting Jonathan Brooks to take over this job and take it over early, and they're less like, how good are the Panthers going to be? But the fact is that Chuba Hubbard's been terrific throughout the year. He's gotten, obviously, he got paid, and now, unfortunately, Jonathan Brooks has re-injured that knee. Miles Sanders currently on the IR. The point of this is that Chuba Hubbard is going to get a significant workload against Dallas. By the way, I mention this because running backs that have seen at least 17 touches against the Cowboys this year are averaging 27.7 fantasy points per game. If you get a lot of carries against the Cowboys, fantasy goodness follows. And so Chuba Hubbard is going to get a big workload. And, Connor, I'm curious, just from a tape standpoint, this wasn't a guy that I felt like was really looked at coming out of college as a potential workhorse back, the kind of guy that could lead a backfield, but that's an underrated offensive line in Carolina, right. And every time he's got an opportunity, he's produced.
He has, and it's funny because as a prospect, who I really liked, he was more explosive play, big hitter guy. He had 2 great years of college football, but he wasn't this guy that you look at and go 30 carries, run between the tackles, wear down the defense, just live on the field. So he's really molded his game as an NFL player, and you have to respect what he's been able to do because this is a tough workload to stay healthy, and he's shown that he could take on this kind of workload and stay on the field.
Yeah, and he's doing stuff like he's turning 2-yard losses into 4-yard gains. Right. He's doing all the really good running back stuff.
Dirty work running.
Yeah. No, I think the Troubler is back. He is back in a big way. And here's the thing.
It's a terrifying name.
The Troubler.
He's the Troubler.
It's, by the way, better than Palmalicious, worse than McConculus.
I think it's better than McConculus. The Troubler. The Troubler is a great name. It sounds like the Riddler, but it's not.
I was thinking more Riddler line. Yeah.
Yes. Listen, the Panthers are 3-point favorites against the Dallas Cowboys. There was a point at the season, Cowboys won their first game against the Browns, right? And the Panthers got blown out. So I think after week 1, this look-ahead line would have been like Cowboys -10.
Sure.
It's Panthers -3. You know what? I like the Panthers. They're a better team than the Cowboys right now. Cooper Rush was an absolute disaster against the Bengals. I think the Panthers' defense has been fixed. They're playing a lot more man coverage than they used to, which seems to have really helped them. So I think they're going to be in game script where they can run the ball, and no one gets more work than the Chubbler.
Yeah. But poor Nick Chubb going, really?
Yeah, I couldn't get that one.
I can't be the Chubbler?
No, not until he wants to start running for more than 3 yards per carry.
Fair enough. Chuba Hubbard is my running back 8 this week, and I do think he wouldn't win this. But when we do the Peacockies at the end of the year, there's an argument to be made. Chuba Hubbard should certainly be a nominee for fantasy MVP because of not only his production, but in terms of where he went in drafts, right? I mean, he's been a massive value.
He's going to have to carry the Grape Slappers. My team is now built around Carolina Panthers. It is anchored by the Chubbler and Adam Thielen, my good friends. This is the cornerstone. My team. McCaffrey, bye-bye. Sam Darnold traded him for nothing. And so now my team is built around Chuba Hubbard, the Chubbler, and Adam Thielen.
What could go wrong?
Yeah. What could go wrong?
It won't backfire.
Yeah. You want to pick up Tommy Tremble? Just,
see what happens. Jatavian Sanders in the flex.
No, I need Jalen Coker to miss this week. I'm checking injury reports, hoping that he misses. So Adam Thielen gets work.
That's the kind of thing that the cokeheads don't want to hear. Jalen Coker's big fan base. All of us, we're the cokeheads.
Yes. Our next running back, Zach Charbonnet. Assuming Kenneth Walker is out, Jay, Zach Charbonnet would be a huge play. He's got 3 starts this season. He's averaged over 27 points per game in those 3 starts.
Yeah, the Seahawks, they want to have a workhorse running back. Doesn't matter who it is, it just has to be someone has to be a workhorse. And we saw what Zach Charbonnet was able to do against the Cardinals, playing really well, broke that explosive long touchdown, goes 22 for 134, then also gets the 7 receptions through the air. I mean, Zach Charbonnet, if Kenneth Walker is out, then he is a legitimate RB1. And he goes up against the Packers, and I don't really understand why the Seahawks are even underdogs in this game, let alone 3-point underdogs. I think the Seahawks are going to win on Sunday night. You should go out on a limb, Matthew. Football night in America. Pick the Seahawks. Pick the 12th man at home.
I'm going to.
Because I think that they're going to have run script, or enough run script in this game. I'd be very surprised if the Packers blew them out.
We'll see if this, I have to put together a parlay, and I have to do my Barry's bet, and I'm going to start looking at it here starting tomorrow. But Seahawks +3 will absolutely be it'll either be in the parlay or it'll be one of my best bet. I agree with you, and I'm going to pick the Seahawks to win. I don't understand this as well. Green Bay's defense, I think, has fallen off a little bit. The only challenge here for Seattle is the Geno-ness of it. Every once in a while, Geno just has these head-scratching games where you're just like, what just happened there?
Who else has that, though, is Jordan Love.
Yeah, that's very true.
I'm not sure these quarterbacks are that far apart. Like, the perception is that Jordan Love's like a couple tiers above Geno, I think. I don't think so. I think these guys are very similar.
I agree with you, certainly in terms of how they played this season. I mean, I think the difference is Jordan Love is younger and got the big contract. He got the big contract, and Geno got a nice contract, but not a
just in this game.
Yeah, exactly. But for this game as well, I think Mike McDonald's done a really nice job with that Seahawks defense. They're playing very, very well. They're a top 10 run defense over the last 4 weeks. They're a top 7 pass defense over this same stretch of time. Meanwhile, over the last 4 weeks, the Packers allowing the 6th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. The 4 running backs that have seen 15 or more touches against Green Bay in that stretch average 19 fantasy points per game. So assuming Ken Walker is out again, and it's trending that way as we see it here on a Thursday morning, Zach Charbonnet should once again get a tremendous workload in a good matchup at home against Green Bay. He's my running back 11 this week.
Yeah, we don't often think about it like this, but the fact that the Seahawks defense has gotten so much better, and it would make sense why it has gotten better because they were banged up all throughout the start of the year, and also Mike McDonald's defense, by all accounts, is very complicated. It's built on all these simulated pressures, versatility in scheme, and it would make sense that as the season goes on, they get more accustomed to it, and just there are reasons why the Seahawks now seemingly have a very good defense, and that specifically helps Zach Charbonnet. Because it means that they're getting the ball back quicker. They're just in more positive scripts because the team is just better overall. So I think the Seahawks are legitimate, and I think the defense is really good. And I think Charbonnet can benefit from that.
They're also because they, in terms of the offense is moving the ball. And I get for us, fantasy-wise, fantasy-wise, we're like, Tyler Lockett, whatever, right? He's sort of fallen off. But the fact is that the emergence of Jackson Smith and Jigba means there are now 3 legitimate weapons on the Seahawks passing offense that you have to account for. Even though Tyler Lockett's production hasn't been there fantasy-wise, if you're a defensive coordinator, you can't just leave him alone. Tyler Lockett is still fast enough and still gets open enough that you're just like, all right, we've got to account for him. Obviously, you've got DK Metcalf, and just when you're dealing with those 3 wide receivers and Geno, who's willing to throw it down the field, that opens up a lot of rushing lanes for Zach Charbonnet or Ken Walker, whoever's the running back. And this week, we expect it to be Zach Charbonnet.
And one way to protect Geno from himself in this game is the screen game and the check down game to Charbonnet, which has always been excellent in that aspect. Our next running back is Brian Robinson, guys. Basically, the Saints' run defense is what the Bucs defense has been to quarterbacks in fantasy. If you are playing against the Saints defense, you are most likely going to have a huge day. Since week 3, they've given up 20-plus fantasy points to running backs in all but one game, Matthew. This is a great spot for Brian Robinson.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the reasons why they've given us 70 points in that stretch, Connor, as you mentioned, is that they've allowed 14 rushing touchdowns. They're giving up 5.3 yards per carry to opposing running backs. And so Brian Robinson, this is one of the reasons why he was a sleeper for me in the preseason, knowing how Cliff Kingsbury likes to use his running backs, right? He likes to run when they get in close. We've always talked about how James Conner, even Kenyon Drake back in the day in Arizona would get all these goal line rushes. There have been 9 completed games, 9 games in which Brian Robinson has started and finished. He's scored in 7 of them. I'll tell you right now, I'm just calling it right now. Danielle, if you're listening, I'm calling it right now. Brian Robinson is my pick for anytime touchdown when we put together our anytime touchdown parlay for fantasy football pregame. I think he gets into the end zone this week, guys. The Saints no one's given up more rushing touchdowns than the New Orleans Saints. So I have Brian Robinson as a top 15 play today. Fully healthy. Commanders, by the way, 7.5-point favorites.
Yep, so it should be game script. This Saints run defense in primetime made Javonte Williams look like 2012 Adrian Peterson. So they just don't seem to. Seems like the line just got old all at the same time. They don't have that much to play for now. I mean, technically they're still alive, but they know that with Derek Carr gone, that their season is inching towards the end. And also, again, they're going to have game script the Commanders because I don't think that whoever is playing quarterback for the Saints is going to be able to sustain many drives.
No, and they're coming off the bye. Commanders they've had 2 weeks to prepare for a game that they need to win just to keep pace in the playoff picture.
Some others receiving votes: Rico Dowdle, who's gotten excellent volume over the last 3 games. Tony Pollard, who did appear on the injury report yesterday, but should be good to go. Jalen Warren, Jaleel McLaughlin, and both Jets running backs, Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, with the matchup against Jacksonville there, Matthew.
Now, understand, at the moment, I have Breece Hall ranked. So that's why Allen and Davis's ranks are in the 40s. But if Hall misses practice again today, which I'm assuming he will, I'll remove Hall from the ranks, and Allen and Davis will move up higher as well. It's just worth noting that Jalen Warren has had a 21% target share with George Pickens out last week. Looks like Pickens once again will miss. Steelers are a 5-point underdog as well. Pollard and Dowdle, again, both guys getting lots of work in a great matchup. And then Jaleel McLaughlin, I just want to caveat this. It's a playoff week. You don't want to get super crazy. And trusting a Sean Payton running back is always dicey, right? I mean, like, again, I'm old enough to remember when Audric Estime was going to get a lot more work.
Then he disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just McLaughlin got 64% of the Broncos running back carries in Week 13. He saw his highest snap rate since Week 5. And if he gets that kind of production and that kind of workload against the Colts, who are giving up the more fantasy points to running backs than any other team in the NFL, I think it's great. But it's just it's risk reward. Just understand that with McLaughlin, because you can never trust the workload of a Broncos running back under Sean Payton. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.